Want to make more money? Turn gay. The media won't tell you about the gay wage gap. If they do, they'll use old data. Check out this article from the BBC. The big LGBTQ+ wage gap problem. A global meta-analysis from 2014 found that, on average, gay men earned 11% less than heterosexual men. Wait a minute, why are we using a global meta-analysis from 2014? Let's check that out. This uses data published between 1995 and 2012. If only there was a newer study which researched newer data. Here's an article from the Harvard Business Review, written by the person who made a newer study showing how this wage gap has developed over time. In fact, this person posted a study in 2017 analyzing data found between 2013 and 2015. Now, I have not found any study exploring this topic further, but I have looked at the data and gay men are earning increasingly more than every other demographic you can think of. BBC, why are you using an older data set? It's 2022 right now. This one's from The Conversation, posted 2021. Oh look, they used the analysis from the old study again, the one from 2014. Go try it yourself. Try looking up the gay wage gap and see what studies people are actually using. Shout out to Quartz because they actually noticed this study the year it came out in 2017. Do keep in mind, I'm an American, so I'm going to focus on American issues. But can you believe I found almost zero references from American news sites about that study? That's from Vanderbilt University. That's one of the best schools in the country. According to the study from the two Vanderbilt economists, gay men earn 10% more than straight men. I feel oppressed right now. Of course, making more money doesn't change based on your demographic. It changes based on your skills and what's in demand. Lesbian women also earn 9% more than straight women. That means my sister's facing both the gender wage gap and now the lesbian wage gap too. Now, I will say that the two researchers were not able to form a concrete conclusion on why this is the case. They only have hypotheses, but we could find some as well using our brains. Before that though, me as a straight male, demand we get paid as much as gay men now. To counteract this, I'm gonna go start a company and only hire straight women, because clearly they make the least out of all four of these groups that I mentioned. All jokes aside, the researchers say that richer gay men are more likely to come out than poorer gay men, which is what is causing this gay wage gap. A business professor at USC, Kirk Snyder, also states in his book, The G Quotient, Why Gay Executives Are Excelling as Leaders and What Every Manager Needs to Know, states that gay men are better entrepreneurs and that gay managers have 35% higher engagement from employees in his book. Imagine the double standard if the opposite was said. Keep in mind, guys, this book was actually published in 2006. Now, I don't know how these things are measured, but saying a broad statement such as, this group is better at this than everyone else is just a statement. But if we use our brains and actually think and look at the stereotypes of gay men, this actually makes sense. Am I allowed to stereotype though? Every person is different, but on average, did the gay men I work with have higher energy than everyone else? I actually do think so. Do they also reap the benefits of being men in white-collar positions? I think so as well. Is it a coincidence that white men are more likely to identify as gay than any other race in the US? Probably not, but this may factor in as well. Before we move on, I want to give a quick shout out to Tim Cook, or Tim Apple, as Donald Trump likes to call him. Dude, these nicknames he makes for people are actually too funny. He has played a big role in allowing me to retire early because my Apple stocks have been doing incredibly well. But let's get back into why the gay wage gap exists and why it's okay to exist. In my opinion, the biggest point to make is that filtering out for only gay men filters out a lot of the population geographically. Gay people are like immigrants. Most gay people are found in big cities with huge job prospects. These people also tend to do better because they're willing to move from where they were born to a new place. The act of moving alone to a new city is a huge determinant on your success. If you look at almost every immigrant group, all those people who move from different countries to the US, they greatly outshine most Americans who have stayed in the same place, even though a lot of them don't even speak English. That's how much Americans suck. You're being outsmarted by people who can't even speak the language and have no friends when they get here. If you don't believe me, tell any American to just move whenever they complain about their living situation. They'll go on into a 2-hour tirade about why the just move solution just won't work for them. Back to the big cities. Living costs in these cities are typically higher than the rest of the country. Thus, people generally give higher wages to give people an opportunity to live in that city. For example, the minimum wage in the biggest cities in the US is around $15, some higher, some a bit lower. The federal minimum wage, $7.25. Naturally, even if gay people are not living better lives, their wages will still be higher. Now, let's talk about the lesbian wage premium, as it is called. Similar to the wage gap, I'd say that the geographic implications still hold true. However, lesbian women have always been out earning straight women for many, many years, whereas the gay men have only been doing it recently. Marieka Clawwitter, professor of public policy at the University of Washington, found that lesbians just had higher education levels than their straight counterparts. However, the history of dominance of lesbian women could be explained by the household role of straight women. If a woman expects to be married and play a traditional role of a housewife, there's no point in getting a good degree or a high-wage career path. Working straight women who are not housewives may also experience an unequal expectation of household labor, which may affect her ability to progress in the workplace. For example, a working woman in a straight couple may have higher expectations to do household chores in her time off from work, even if they are not a housewife. Lesbians, on the other hand, are more likely to split their chores evenly, allowing them to focus more on their careers compared to straight women. Maybe another day we could talk about the other wage gap, you know, the one between men and women. You may already know my opinion on that matter, but it goes to show how statistics can be highly misleading. The media likes to use statistics to either incite a strong reaction or ignore them completely because it doesn't fit their narrative. It's a shame because almost every wage gap can be explained for very simple reasons, whether you like it or not. It also shows the power of bias. For example, in this video, my bias is that I focus on the American population. I'm sure the gay wage gap is much worse in every other country. However, unlike the media, I actually tell you about my bias and why I do it. In this scenario, gay men, a marginalized group, out-earn straight men, which is typically seen as a privileged group. It's not just straight men though, they out-earn every single other demographic we looked at in this video. However, this is never mentioned even though there is a newer study from a prestigious university because it doesn't fit the right narrative. You know what does fit the right narrative though? The gender wage gap. That's why they keep talking about it all the time. The hilarity of the wage gap is that most people don't even know how the wage gap is calculated. And once you find out how, it's actually really funny. A pay gap is a figure typically calculated by first adding together all the annual salaries of one demographic who are working full-time, year-round, then finding the median salary, that is, the salary that is in the exact middle, with 50% of the demographic earning more than that figure and 50% earning less. However, we always see this narrative from the media where they say Group A makes less than Group B for the same job, which is totally different from how you calculate a wage gap. Turns out, if you're part of a certain demographic, you're drawn to different jobs. Some of them pay higher, some of them pay lower. That's just how a wage gap works. However, the only gap I'm concerned with is a thigh gap. Alright, all jokes aside, differences are good between people. Some people are good at one thing and some people are good at another. We could use those advantages that each one of us have and combine them for the betterment of society. If we all focus on being the same, we'll actually gain nothing from our advantages. The irony of this statement is that every wage gap shows that people are the way that they are, while ignoring the real reasons why the wage gap even exists in the first place. Just like how we showed hypotheses on why the gay wage gap exists in this video. If you want to learn more about the median wage and how America is not as poor as you think, check out this video on how half of America can retire in 10 years.